Viewers, Iran's army has stepped in with a strong warning as authorities try to contain the largest wave of protest the country has seen in years. Iranian army has vowed to protect public property and strategic infrastructure amid the growing unrest. In a statement, the Iranian military said it would act decisively to safeguard national interests and urge citizens to foil what it called quote-unquote enemy plots. The warning comes as protests triggered by soaring inflation and economic hardship have spread across large parts of Iran and have increasingly taken on a political tone, with demonstrators calling for the clerical leadership to step down. The unrest continued overnight, with state media reporting arson attacks on government buildings and funerals held for security personnel killed during clashes. Authorities have also imposed an internet blackout, while witnesses say security forces, including the elite Revolutionary Guards, have been deployed in several regions and have opened fire in some areas. The Iranian military has accused Israel and hostile terror groups of trying to undermine public security. Both the regular army and the Revolutionary Guards operate under the command of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, who has blamed foreign powers for fueling the protests and warned against attacks on public property. International pressure also continues to mount. US President Donald Trump has issued fresh warnings to Iran's leadership, while Secretary of State Marco Rubio says Washington supports the Iranian people. European leaders have condemned the killing of protesters and have urged urgent restraint. Viewers, there's more to what's happening in Iran because a doctor in Tehran, on condition of anonymity, told Time magazine that at least 217 protesters have been recorded dead across 6 hospitals in capital Tehran as nationwide unrest continues to grip the nation, and most of the deaths are by live ammunition firing by the security personnel, and this signals a feared crackdown by Iran's regime. The demonstrations, which now span all 31 provinces, began as a protest against economy in free fall, but they soon shifted to demand the overthrow of the authoritarian Islamic regime. Meanwhile, exiled son of Iran's late Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, has urged Iranians living abroad to play a very important role during these tough times and testing times. On Friday, he has appealed to US President Donald Trump as well to intervene urgently as the protests continue to persist in the Islamic Republic. Trump, who ordered bombing last year on Iranian nuclear sites in coordination with Israel, has threatened military action if authorities kill protesters. And to help us understand what's really happening, we have Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, defense and geopolitical expert, along with Dr. Zakir Hussain, a Middle East expert, joining us live on this broadcast. First, let me take my question to General Sanjay Kulkarni. General Kulkarni, a very good afternoon to you, and thank you for taking the time out to join us on this important discussion. Firstly, General Kulkarni, help us understand what really is happening in Iran. Is it deep state or is it deep mutiny?
Thank you, Deepak. First and foremost, I think Iran under tremendous shortage. In Tehran itself for a long time, shortage of water, shortage of food, Riyal having gone bursted, millions of Riyals to $1. The things are problematic economically. There are protests over there. And now to say that the deep state may be taking advantage of what's happening over there. After the 12-day war, obviously, the sanctions which have been imposed in Iran, just not now, for many years, they are able now to even sell their oil, even though despite a $400 billion agreement with China for oil over the next 25 years, nothing seems to be moving. Now, the Chinese have another $400 billion deal with Russia for the gas. Despite all this, Iran's in deep trouble because there's shortage of food, there's shortage of water, there's tremendous amount of resentment against the present government. But Iranians per se are anti-West. Now that's the dichotomy. Now much that America might want to fit in troubled waters, it isn't as yet doing. It's following the wait and watch policy. Because it knows for sure that Iranians, despite whatever Raja Pahlavi might say from Washington, D.C., his own father, when he deserted Iran in 1979, over the last 45 plus years, the Iranians haven't as yet turned as pro-West as they were during his time. So all 31 provinces, obviously shortage, inflation, real not holding, it's become a toilet paper. So there is a lot of problems, internal problems of Iran. But would Iran go west? Now that is something which is wait and watch. That's why you can find kind of statements coming, emanating from America, that we should don't fire and all. And like you said, some kind of report may come about 200, 300 protesters have died. Obviously, all I personally feel much that Ayatollah Khamenei may have lost his hold. That's okay. But the Iranians per se may not go pro-West so soon. They are pro-West. There are a large number of population which is pro-West. But suddenly turning pro-West in this fashion, difficult. That is why wait and watch by the Americans. Their own intelligence agencies must be telling America, not as yet, the thing is not ripe as yet. Of course, resentment is there. The Iranians are feeling the heat of inflation. Iranians are feeling the heat of, no food available now at this point of time, difficulties, real having become a toilet paper, water shortage has been there in Tehran for a long, long time. So there are problems. But whether they thought to becoming taking equal, that is what I would like to say at this point of time.
That's right, and basic necessities, basic essentials are completely out of reach given the kind of economic free fall we're witnessing. Dr. Zakir Hussain, is this a repeat of what we saw in 2019, or is it far more dangerous for the regime?
This is, first of all, this is the government, not the regime. Number one, of course, the scale is very large, but it's an age of de-dollarization, so it is better to measure the currencies in their own values. And Iran has deliberately led the market forces to decide the value exchange rate of its real, because smugglers and hedgers were making the day and creating corruption. Iran is depositing $7 to the beneficiaries directly in their accounts. Second, Iran has allocated $8.8 billion to the exchange rate so goods can be imported. Iran has reduced value-added tax from 12 to 10%. Of course, 27 to 50% population is below poverty line. Demonstration is massive, but what I feel that politically, Iran is under pressure, but defense-wise, it is very determined to take action if any action is taken by USA or Israel. And third, Iran is taking all measures to break the unity of the protesters. It is telling that right protests are justified, but the rioters are not accepted. And second, that Iranian Khamenei has said that protest is allowed, but not the rioters. So these are various aspects going on in the country. But I feel that if this government goes, then I don't find anything is repressible there, because democracy is not preferred by either the Gulf regimes, other monarchical regimes, or Israel. So what I feel, that situation is very grim. But defense-wise, Iran is determined, and it has threatened to take preemptive style, and this time Iran take action. And I also feel that this is the impact and repercussion of the 12-day war, in which Israel has targeted the economic installations of Iranian. That's why the crisis is there. So what I feel that it's a very complex and tough situation for the Iranian government. Not even 2020, but since 1979, this massive protest has never been occurred in Iran after that. But one thing is also clear here, that Iranian does not want any foreign external elements to come and occupy the country.
That's right. They're completely against foreign intervention, and
yes,
Khamenei has clearly said that US should not interfere in what's happening in Iran. But we can't really ignore the fact that banks were set on fire in Iran's fifth largest city, Shiraz, as nationwide protests continued across the country. And according to reports and videos circulating on social media, protesters were seen torching multiple banks, flames gutting symbols of the regime's economic grip, videos of which are being circulated despite Iran's full internet shutdown. And Iranians are also burning down mosques across the country while raising slogans And in Yazd, massive crowds packed Imam Hussein Square, sloganeering, and I quote, "This is the year of blood. Khamenei will be overthrown." In defiant unison, protests have galvanized. Protesters have also seized Iran's second largest city, Mashhad. In Tehran, anti-regime protesters set a bus on fire near the customs building. Over 100 cities burning with anger, with the internet blacked out to silence the roar. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump has issued a new warning to Iran's leaders as videos showed anti-government protests raging across the country. General Kulkarni, voices in exile are also echoing. We have Reza Pahlavi, who has sought, direct intervention of Donald Trump. So, looking at what's happening and looking at the kind of demands that are coming in from voices in exile, do you think this is the beginning of the end for Khamenei?
Deepak, this is a million-dollar question, because much that Khamenei might go, yet some other religious leader might come up over there. Though the existing president is very much a pro-reformist, he would much like Iran. But the problem now, I agree with Zakir, is that there is no alternative government. And that is a very big, I may say, a plus point for Iran and a negative point for the West. Because if negative, why I say negative point for the West is, the West, much that it would want to intervene at this point of time, cannot intervene. Because it's very difficult. There's a large lobby in Iran, which is quite westernized. Iran is not a country which is, riff-raff. It's an old civilization, understands, has seen the best of times, has undergone a lot of changes. But there is something very peculiar. If it had been something different, if Reza Pahlavi could intervene, he would have done it long back. He's there in Washington, D.C. since 1978. There's nothing heard. He's turned 65. Yeah, maybe his cause might bring people to speech. There would be people, of course, maybe closer to the Crown Prince, what he claims to be. But I think it's a very, very grim situation in Iran. No government in waiting, none who can take charge. At the same time, the religious lobby seems in a very difficult state because sanctions have made it extremely difficult for Iran to get. Now is the time if Iran could get some help from somewhere for its food, and if Riyal could stabilize, I think yes, there is a scope. But then Iran is a Shia country. That's another thing, because with Iran, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, these are all the competitors in the Arab and the Muslim world. Now, whether Iran would be seen as wanting to get a little in a more prosperous country at this point of time, well, Saudis would much want, though the Saudis and the Iranians seem to have been patched up by the Chinese, but Saudis would also do wait and watch. The Turks would do wait and watch. The Baluchis have come on the street also on the protests that are going on in Iran. So it's a very, very difficult situation, but no government in waiting. Khamenei, yes, in trouble. Khamenei's son is in waiting, but I don't think he's popular over there. Maybe the present president of Iran is capable of handling, because he's a pro-reformist, and if it can ensure there are no shortages, and if Riyal can be stabilized, I think Iran can hope to see some kind of stability in the next about a week or so. Yeah.
That's right, General. Let me also take our viewers as far as United Nations is concerned. Viewers, Iran's ambassador Amir Saeed Irawan has blamed the United States of transforming peaceful protests into violent, subversive acts and widespread vandalism. He also wrote in a letter to Security Council that it condemns the ongoing unlawful and irresponsible conduct of US in coordination with the Israeli regime in interfering in Iran's internal affairs through threats, incitement and the deliberate encouragement of instability and violence. General Kulkarni, speaking about Iran's letter, the ambassador's letter to the Security Council, he has completely pinned the blame on Washington DC. But if an entire nation is standing up against the regime, you can't call this an international conspiracy.
See, Deepak, US might fish in troubled waters, but I don't think the US would have, they may be instigators in some form or the other, because they wouldn't want to go in for another 12-day war kind of a situation for Iran. Israel is much against the nuclearization of Iran. That's one part. Iran, the Americans are looking, obviously, because they find that the energy security is going to China vis-a-vis Iran. So they are looking at it from that point of view. But I don't think Iran would be in a position that would take on United States so easily because the Iranians know what's happened in Afghanistan. Iranians know what had happened in Iraq. Iraq and Iran had been in war for 10 years earlier. So there is quite a thing which the Iranians are aware of with the interference of the West. What can happen in Iran? So they wouldn't want West, influence power in Iran. But definitely they don't want the kind of Khamenei kind of rule in Iran for a very simple reason, because Khamenei, all said and done, his health also is not keeping well. Secondly, the way the economy is turned very, very bad, the sanctions are affecting. So someone a little more sane Iranian, which I feel the present president is capable. President Shah is capable. He is reformist. He has also been able to do, and if that happens, if it goes a democratic way through the Iranians themselves, I think yes, maybe US may also support to say that okay, democracy is there and not a kind of a religious Khamenei kind of organization over there. Maybe the Iranians might it may be acceptable to the West, but otherwise at this point of time, interference from the West might be very, very difficult and might just bounce. And I think it may not be working it so easy because I also feel it's an Iranian internal affair. There's a problem with the present administration because of shortage of food, water, basic necessities, and poverty there. Riyal having become a toilet paper is the reason why, and sanctions imposed. I don't know how some of the best friends of Iran are coming forward to help them because Iran has helped so many countries. And now at this point of time, if Iran isn't assisted by countries whom they have favored with so much drones, this, that, and everything, at least with food and being able to bring some kind of economic stability in Iran, I think Iran should be looking for some kind of a help from their friends at this point of time. Otherwise, of course, the Americans are there and they wouldn't want America in, and Americans are also wait and watch. That is why they are. I'm sure the American intelligence must be telling the government in America or the deep state that don't, and this is not yet the right time to intervene in Iran. Let them sort out among themselves. Hopefully, as I said, a week should be enough for Iran. We will get to know what happens in Iran. Khamenei might just leave Iran or might be able to, stabilize. Seems very difficult, very, very difficult at this point of time to say whether USA will intervene or USA will bomb. No chance. I don't think it's not Venezuela. Iran is a very, very different country. It's an old civilization. Won't accept all this from anyone. And it might be difficult even for everybody else. So I hope, sincerely hope, some good sense prevails upon the Iranians themselves and the government that they, at least the food shortage is sorted out. The water shortage is sorted out. Riyal is stabilized and sanctions may be lifted. The UN at this point of time should lift sanctions. Otherwise, they can't. They have oil, they can't sell oil, except for the treaty that they have with China. And I don't know how come Chinese are not able to help Iran with whatever the basic necessities are required. At least that should have been done to stabilize Iran at this point of time.
Right, these are indeed challenging times for the people as well as Iran's top leadership. US is watching every single development very, very closely, and it's too soon for Donald Trump to intervene. General Kulkarni, thank you for putting things into perspective for our viewers.